Imagine an empire so powerful that it minted its own gold coins, traded with Rome, India, and even China, and was listed by ancient writers as one of the four greatest powers of the world, alongside Rome, Persia, and China. Yet today, most people have never even heard of it. This was the kingdom of Aksum, a mighty African empire that flourished nearly 2,000 years ago in what is now northern Ethiopia and Eritrea, a land of towering stone monuments, bustling trade ports, and a legacy that shaped the world, before fading mysteriously into history's shadows. This is the untold rise and fall of Ancient Aksum. Our story begins around the 1st century CE, while Rome dominated the Mediterranean and Han China ruled the East. A rising kingdom began to take shape in the Horn of Africa. Aksum's heartland lay on fertile plateaus, watered by seasonal rains and close to the Red Sea, giving a perfect balance of agriculture and trade access. But Aksum didn't appear out of nowhere. It inherited traditions from earlier local cultures, like the DMT Kingdom, and absorbed influences from across the Red Sea, particularly South Arabia, whose people brought writing, architecture, and trade connections. By the 1st century, Aksum emerged as a regional powerhouse, uniting smaller chiefdoms under a central king. Its people spoke Gwizi, a language still preserved today in Ethiopian liturgy. The empire's location was everything. Just across the Red Sea lay Arabia, while to the north, the Nile connected them to Egypt and the Mediterranean. Aksum became the bridge between Africa, Arabia, and the wider ancient world. What made Aksum truly thrive was trade. Its capital city, Aksum, sat inland, but its power stretched to Obelisks, a bustling port on the Red Sea. From here, goods flowed in and out like lifeblood. Aksum exported ivory, gold, frankincense, myrrh, obsidian, salt, and even exotic animals. In return, it imported glassware, silk, spices, and wine from Rome, India, and beyond. The Periplus of the Erythraean Sea, a Greek guidebook for sailors written in the 1st century, praised Obelisks as one of the greatest trading hubs of its day. Aksum grew so wealthy that its kings began minting coins, the only African kingdom of its time to do so. These coins, stamped with crosses or portraits of kings, weren't just money, they were propaganda, symbols of Aksum's might that circulated from the Mediterranean to India. One coin even reads, "May this please the people," proof that Aksum's rulers care about projecting power and stability across their vast networks. Among Aksum's long line of rulers, one name shines above the rest. King Ezana, ruling in the 4th century CE. Ezana was the empire's greatest king, and a visionary who reshaped Aksum forever. Early in his reign, Ezana continued the traditional path, expanding territory, crushing rivals, and leading armies. In inscriptions, he proudly called himself King of Kings, King of Aksum, Himyar, and Raydan, boasting of victories that stretched across Arabia. But Ezana's greatest legacy wasn't military. It was spiritual. During his reign, Aksum converted to Christianity, making it one of the first major empires in the world to do so. According to tradition, a Christian missionary named Frumentius, shipwrecked as a boy, rose to become Ezana's advisor. Through his influence, Ezana embraced a new faith. From then on, Aksum's coins bore crosses instead of pagan symbols. Christianity became deeply woven into Ethiopian culture, a legacy that still endures today in the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. By Ezana's time, Aksum wasn't just a regional kingdom. It was a world power recognized by Rome, Persia, and India. Aksum wasn't just powerful, it was awe-inspiring. The most famous symbols of its greatness are the Aksumite stele, massive stone obelisks carved from single blocks of granite. Some towered over 100 feet high, making them among the largest monolithic structures in the world. These stele weren't just monuments. They marked the graves of Aksum's kings and nobles. Imagine the engineering genius required to carve, transport, and erect these stones without modern technology. Foreign travelers marveled at Aksum City, its palaces, temples, reservoirs, and lush farmlands. To outsiders, it was proof that Africa was not just a land of mystery, but home to one of the most advanced civilizations of time. At its height, between the 4th and 6th centuries, Aksum controlled not only Ethiopia and Eritrea, but also parts of Sudan, Djibouti, Yemen, and even southern Arabia. Its navy patrolled the Red Sea, giving it dominance over the trade routes between Rome, India, and Arabia. In fact, Aksum grew so strong that in the 6th century, King Caleb launched an expedition across the Red Sea to defeat a Jewish ruler in Yemen who was persecuting Christians. For a time, Aksum controlled parts of Arabia, making it a true cross-continental empire. So powerful was Aksum that the Persian writer Mani listed it among the 4 great powers of the world, with Rome, Persia, and China. Think about that, an African empire mentioned in the same breath as Rome and China. But no empire lasts forever. From the 7th century onward, cracks began to appear in Aksum's foundation. The rise of Islam reshaped the Red Sea trade routes. Muslim merchants increasingly bypassed Aksum, favoring ports controlled by their own networks. Aksum's once bustling trade began to shrink. At the same time, environmental pressures took their toll. Evidence suggests soil erosion, deforestation, and changing climate patterns weakened agriculture. Without surplus food, supporting large cities and armies became harder. Then came political isolation. As Islamic caliphate spread across the Middle East and North Africa, Aksum found itself cut off from many of its former allies and markets. By the 8th and 9th centuries, the great city of Aksum was fading. The capital shifted further inland, and the empire's glory slipped quietly into memory. But Aksum's story didn't end in silence. Though the empire declined, its cultural and religious legacy lived on. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church preserved Christianity in East Africa. Even as Islam spread across the region, Ethiopia became a land of faith and resilience, rooted in the seeds Ezana had planted centuries before. The memory of Aksum also inspired later Ethiopian kings, who claimed descent from the Queen of Sheba and King Solomon, a lineage said to connect Ethiopia's rulers directly to biblical history. Today, the ruins of Aksum, its steely palaces and tombs, still stand in northern Ethiopia, recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. For Ethiopians, Aksum is not just history, it is identity, proof that Africa once gave rise to an empire as mighty as Rome or Persia. The kingdom of Aksum rose from the highlands of Africa to become one of the world's great empires. Through trade, faith, and power, it shaped the ancient world in ways still felt today. Its fall was gradual, but its legacy endures in Ethiopia's faith, culture, and pride. So next time someone asks you about the greatest civilizations of the ancient world, remember to mention Aksum, the African empire that rivaled Rome, Persia, and China. Because history's most powerful stories aren't just in Europe or Asia. Some of the greatest tales were written right on African soil. If you enjoyed this story, give it a thumbs up. It really helps the channel grow. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss another timeless tale. And tell me in the comments, what part of Aksum's history surprised you the most? I can't wait to read your thoughts.